Hello, 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 my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah. So, for some reason, a topic popped into my head because I was scrolling through YouTube and, I was running through clips and seeing, in some city, some state somewhere, small towns getting upset about the rainbow flag. And these people took their time out of their day to go complain about hypothetical situations over a piece of fabric. And that's when I really realized how deeply ingrained homophobia is into the psyche of the distorted male and the distorted patriarch. Yes, the distorted feminine, but I always tell people the distorted feminine learned all of this energy as a byproduct or counterpart to the distorted masculine who has been grown and taught and raised under that of the patriarch. And the patriarch is not bad. The patriarch is just like everything else. It has dual sides. We just lived in the very, very crass side of the polarity of the patriarch, which is the side where we tried to control too much. You have to remember, if you want something to grow, you can't try to control it. That's never going to work. It's going to find another way to grow, or it's going to abandon you. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that when I listen to people's reasonings for being homophobic, I have to chuckle just a little bit because I'm not making fun of them, but it's realizing that this is emotional intelligence or the lack thereof, because you can hear someone else's training, you can hear someone else's conditioning when they speak to you about what they say. This is my belief. Most people who say this is my belief have usually been taught that as a belief. If you know what you know and you're convinced of what you believe in and you trust it and you live by it and these are your principles and your faith, you don't go around saying, I trust in my faith. I trust them. You know what I mean? Like, no one does that. That's trying to convince yourself. So that's why I always say the word belief is laced with doubt, because doubt is, there's a level of trying to convince yourself when you're trying to believe. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe in this. I believe. You have to keep telling yourself until you believe it. Once you believe it, that's the trusting. Once you trust it, that's the knowing. And once you know it, that's the faith. And then the faith becomes the discipline of just living the life that is according to that. Now, if someone has a spiritual, religious belief, again, that's all conditioning. Really trusting your own energy when it comes to knowing energy separate from yours has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. People always try to use children as a way to buffer their insecurities and fear and hate that's been taught to them and say, well, what about my kid? They're so impressionable. Then your child shouldn't be watching anything on TV because every other commercial is probably pretty inappropriate under your bylines of if it was two men or two women, but if it's a straight couple, then it's okay. This is the imbalance of understanding that even if you believe that it's okay to say that gay is wrong, you're still deciding what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, which creates a template for your child to now live in, which is a rigid outline of your insecurities or your limited understanding of wanting to step outside of what's been created for you because you've been taught to fear it. Now, something that I personally always find fascinating is the homosocialization of men primarily. I understand that it happens with women, but for me, as a man who's 6'4", I've noticed the trickle down effect of how women bully other women. It tends to be triggered or tethered to how their father or brother or a masculine in their life treated them. And then in turn, they put it back on the other feminines or the other females who then give it back to the children and have an imbalance of what's power, what's not power, and who to put around them based on, alpha mentality or all these other distorted ways that we think we control others, which is really just a way of saying we have no idea what we're doing. So what I was going to say is that, I've heard some men, now this might get a little rated for some people, but when you're in the intimacy act of having intercourse or coitus or sex or whatever, whatever you want to say with your partner, let's say you say you're 100% straight. I have no problem with you identifying as your identifier. I'm 100% gay. So I understand that sentiment. When you are with your partner, let's say you're two cisgender people, a male and a female, biologically, these are your parts. If your feminine and your female desires to lick your entire body because you can do that to her, and then in turn she decides to lick your, you know, gooch or whatever we call it, the taint, lick the butt parts, all this stuff, that is not gay or a homosexual act if you are straight and if you are with the cisgender counterpart that you say you're attracted to. Like, you know what I mean? That's like saying, like, if you eat something, oh, that's gay. You ate it a certain way, that's gay. And people will do that. I'm like, these are stereotypes. These aren't conditional to an identity. And so I always laugh when I tell people, like, when I'm with another man, I do not stop to think about women. That's how I know I'm gay. So it makes me laugh when a straight man stops to think about other men when his feminine or female is with him. So this is, again, one of those distorted versions of I can't be seen as sensitive. Everything about homophobia is tethered to not allowing the masculine to be sensitive and sensual with his own body. Now, let me tell you, these young kids, oh, they don't care. They're letting you know. They're doing whatever they want to do. And I love that they started with breaking down the barriers and the stereotypes of image. Men wearing fingernail polish, men wearing dresses again. All this stuff was always there. Somebody else's distortion and perversion turned it into something that men couldn't express themselves. But now these young kids, they're taking back their identity, and I love it. And if this is what you want to do to express yourself, do it. But understand who you love and who you're attracted to are still two totally different things. You can love somebody to death and not be attracted to them. You can be attracted to someone and not actually love them. These are all interchangeable factors of the human condition and the emotional spirit that dwells within us. Nothing is conditional based on your beliefs, okay? And even if it's something, I always tell people, I think it's, someone's like, oh, that's gay. I'm like, I think it's more, gay when it's a group of men who only hang out with other men, learning from other men what to do with their body and then what to do it with the opposite sex. It's like, you can learn from each other, but you should probably learn from the person that you're trying to please or pleasure. It's good to get advice from other men and it's good to get advice from other women, but you don't want to take it and run with that as if that is the subjective truth to everything objective. That makes no sense. And so when men walk around with these agendas of homophobia that they hate it, yeah, I ain't into that. That's not my thing. So why are you thinking about it? Do you understand what I mean? To me, it is so much more what the new kids call sus to sit around thinking about how much you dislike someone and you're associating their sensuality, their friendship connection, their emotional connection, their intellectual connection, all of these things, you're literally dwindling down to the penis because unfortunately society has told you that's what you're worth. Men, you are more than just your genitalia. You understand? Like, I was talking to a friend, it's always very shocking to me that men have been taught that they're only worth what their penis can do to someone else's emotions and their mental stability. If I can get you what they call dickmatized, if I can get you attached to me so much that I can do anything I want and still mess up and be goofy and figure out this life while you love me and put up with all this, that's distortion, love. You understand? Like, you are a person. You're a human being, bro. You know what? Everyone needs to know, like, you are loved. And if you love yourself enough, you will start understanding that disliking something that someone else does, because that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, is some sense of false control. If you're not gay and if you are homophobic, don't talk about it. That's what you do when you don't like something. You don't talk about it. You don't think about it. You don't even dwell on it because it's not your life. And you're like, if I know I don't like something, like if it's not my thing, I just don't associate with it. I just don't talk about it. I just stay away from it. And that's everyone's choice. There's nothing wrong with that. I've told many people before, I don't seek validation. I don't seek approval. I don't seek acceptance because I don't need it from anyone, because I'm a grown man who lives my life and pays my bills and do what I do. And these are other adults and other people. And it's like, I don't know when it happened, but at some point, the generations grew up and realized we don't need your permission to grow. We don't need your permission to make decisions. And if you still feel trapped and stuck and thinking that you need someone's permission, that is deep-rooted ancestor trauma conditioning, my love. And it is for you to work through and work out. There is nothing that's going to change about this world when it comes to slowing down in progress. You're going to start seeing more images of people and things that you're not used to because you're uncomfortable with it, because you've never been taught what change looks like. This is the world that you have been conditionally given. And so when you start to see that I have a choice to keep isolating myself, or I have a choice to just ignore it, because that's really all you can do in a world that's going to keep constantly growing around you. At the end of the day, I'm not telling anyone of my LGBTQ plus family and all the extra things that we keep adding, because I'm being serious about this. Add as many letters as you like. You have to identify yourself and own that and love it and know that with all your heart, my love, you don't need anyone's validation. You don't need someone to tell you that you are seen. You are always seen and you are always loved. But you have to know how to step into your truth and step into your power without that ingrained fear and that ingrained trauma of needing to appease the people around you in order to feel safe. You create your own safety and confidence. You create your own safety in knowing that if this environment is not built for me, that I'm going to do every single thing I can day by day to get out of this environment. I tell people this many of times. I've been in situations when I've been homeless and it's been uncomfortable neighborhoods. I will never call a neighborhood a name. It was uncomfortable for me. And even though I was there for almost a year, in certain places that I was not comfortable, for that year, I put in the work. I went to these jobs, these day jobs I didn't like, and I saved everything I could and got my first apartment over here, or got myself a place where I want to be, away from all the noise, away from all the mess. And then I kept growing. Everybody has to remember, it's your responsibility to, when you get to a certain age, to save the child that did not have a chance to save themselves when they were stuck in a conditional world being told that they were not allowed to identify themselves. You are that person now, and you can do anything you want to do. You can be anybody you want to be, and trust and believe, my love, you do not need permission to exist, okay? So this video was to just tap on, again, if you feel insecure about two men together and two women together, then to me, you might have more issues of trauma to deal with than anything before you should worry about what you feel you believe. Because a belief is literally someone giving you a directive to think. And if you're not thinking for yourself, you're not living for yourself. I want everyone to feel loved, even the people who don't understand and they have this little ball of hate that's been brewing inside of them. That's just because no one allowed you to ever speak your truth. Speak your truth. What is it that you like doing? What is it that you do when you're in private, when you're hiding behind closed doors and you're trying to make sure you feel sexy? These are all things that men have to do. These are all the things that women have to do. These are our personal responsibilities as adults. So you should be doing the work to make sure that you're able to pleasure yourself and pleasure others without it being about sex. You understand? You can pleasure others with your presence, with your mind, with your words. This is attraction. These are the things that happen. Yes, Homosexuality is about liking the same sex as you, but it is not about needing your permission. Do you understand? This is all I want anyone to understand. Go live your life. Go have your babies. Go do your thing. If anything, you can create. People and humans have done one thing. They've always created little drones of themselves who will go out in this world and wreak havoc because that is their karma that they're creating. We can't stop karma, people, but you can create dharma. Every time somebody goes out and seeks to create karma, you create dharma by just making sure there's always an example of something or someone that you can look to and say, that's my example to keep breathing. That's my example to keep moving, because I know I'm strong enough to exist within a world that can't still see itself. You understand? It takes a lot of work to get to a point where you actually can say, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you don't love, but at the same time, I don't need to explain that. And if I meet someone and I'm like, I don't care, and they're like, well, that's how you need to feel validated, do so. But I'm not going to argue with anyone who's not taking the time to really love themselves through the process of giving back to a mindset that deserves to grow. You understand? Being stuck in bro mentality and all these other things, all you do is create a space for you to not feel loved. And trust me, as a man, I know all of the gay things that straight men do together when they think no one's around. So that's the whole point. Stop trying to hide behind someone else's identity. Being gay is a strength. It means it's a title to wear. It's a crown, my love, because I'm telling you, I do not need to hide behind anyone else's conditioning. So therefore, I'm going to wear this proudly. If you have to hide behind the conditioning, if anything, stay in your lane and dislike me from afar, but don't get close to me and try to spit your hate. All right? Because I've been telling people, these new gays, honey, we fight. We do the same thing you do, because anything that you have to remember, anything you teach how to fight and survive, it will get bigger one day and fight you to survive, okay? This has already been happening. I've been watching it happen over the time and the trends of people's emotions. You get the distorted masculine who then becomes mean and rude and distorted to the feminine. So now you get this hard, jaded feminine who becomes a distorted feminine, and then they become mean and rude and all this. And then you got your gay men who are ostracized and your gay women who are criticized. And then and everyone gets this idea that it's okay to haze and bully each other into submission to prove that they're their parents' pattern. They're their grandparents' conditioning. They're their great-grandparents' theme of life. You understand? Choose your own identity, and I promise you, you will not give any kind of flying fucks about what anyone else does. Okay? For whoever this needs to reach, whoever needs to hear it, you got to start one day at a time, bro, and just really know that anything you've been taught and told about what someone else can or can't do, it's a belief. It's not something you need to act on. You know, I've heard a lot of people, as a black gay man, I can compare the two movements. You know, I can choose to disclose to be gay or not, but I can't choose to disclose my skin color that was considered to be an issue. But for me personally, neither one's an issue, so I wear my color very well, and I wear my title of gay very loudly. And so I don't question myself, and therefore no one questions me. All right. I love you guys. As always, check me out on all my social media platforms. You can also check out my book, The Rebirth, Reactivating the Emotional Consciousness, which is basically tapping into this. This was a deeper topic than I normally go into, but it's still an emotional conscious moment that we have to awaken to. Don't be so concerned with other people's actions that you're not living your own life. That was the plain out point of this whole talk. There's a lot of people that are so, and I always tell people, I really don't care if you hate, but can you be functional and do it? Like, do you have to sit around and do absolutely nothing while you hate, and then you just condition other people and children to not understand why, and then they just spew it back out as a trigger? This is what happens when you get people who don't want to function, but they want all the credibility for the work. Okay? So don't get lost in translation. I love you guys. As always, stay balanced.